Welcome to ekitab. Today's topic is what is communication? Communication is an essential element for maintaining and nurturing all types of relationships, be it professional or personal. Hence, it is important to understand the meaning and types of communication. By understanding the basic but crucial elements of communication, we are able to obtain an advantageous position in our lives. The word communication has been derived from the Latin word comunis, which means common understanding or to share. Communication has been primary and indispensable since the mankind has existed on this planet. In addition to this, communication is the essence and the lifeline for all kind of small and large businesses. We communicate with our family members, colleagues at workplace, neighbors, friends, and other people in general on daily basis. The sound understanding of fundamentals of communication always helps in building strong, meaningful, and long-lasting relationships. Communication is a never-ending process taking place around us all the times. Communication can be described as the art as well as skill of transferring facts, information, ideas, opinions, experience, emotions, or attitude from one person to another, one place to another place. Let us look at some of the definition given by the author. Peter Little says, communication is a process by which information is transmitted between individuals and organizations so that an understanding response results. According to Keith Davis, communication is a process of passing information and understanding from one person to another. Lewis Allen says, communication is a bridge of meaning. It involves a systematic and continuous process of telling, listening, and understanding. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, communication is described as the transmission or exchange of information, knowledge, or ideas by means of speech, writing, mechanical, or electronic media. As described earlier, that communication is a systematic and continuous process, let's try and understand the process of communication. Communication is a two-way process and it involves the following components. It has a sender, a message, a medium, a channel, a receiver, a response, and feedback. The sender is someone who has a message, like data, fact, some information, or some emotions to be communicated, to transfer, and the receiver is the one who receives the message. While sending the message, the sender converts thoughts into words or actions or signs or symbols. It is called encoding. In order to understand the message, receiver processes the message and it is called decoding. The whole process of communication is impacted by the element called noise. There are always chances of mistakes encoding to decoding because receiver may not hear or interpret or understand what the sender is trying to convey. And the result is that desired response from the receiver is not achieved. This gap or inability to understanding of the message by the receiver is because of certain barriers between the sender and the receiver. This unplanned obstruction in the communication is called noise that causes disturbances in the communication process. Let's understand the two types of noise that hinders the transmission of message. The first type of noise is called channel noise. Channel is the medium through which the message is transferred. This includes background noise, traffic noise, electronic disturbances, or there could be problems in the volume or the pitch of the speaker or the sender, or the text may be illegible. The second type of noise that interferes in the communication process is semantic noise. Many a times, the message itself causes hindrance, like the message is ambiguous, or there are spelling mistakes, or it is grammatically incorrect. In fact, incorrect usage of the punctuation changes the meaning of the message. Have you ever heard the replies like, "Excuse me? Could you repeat that again?" Or "Good to go?" Or "I didn't get you?" The communication process remains incomplete without the feedback. This means that the receiver is trying to tell you whether the message is clear or not, and this is called the feedback. Feedback could be the sender is asked to repeat or speak louder. A frown on the face is non-verbal feedback. Clapping after the speech gives the feedback that the audience has liked it. No reply at all is also a feedback. Feedback could be positive or negative, or feedback could be immediate or delayed. In simple words, feedback can be described as the message the receiver send back to the sender as they have understood it. To transfer the message to the receiver, sender has to have the medium. This medium is called channel in communication. The channel of communication can be defined as the medium by which the message is transferred. The examples include letters, one-on-one meetings, emails, video conferencing, etc. There are two types of channels of communication: formal and informal. Formal channels are created by organizations to transfer messages that are of importance that impact the work-related activities. These channels follow the authority chain. Examples include messages from CEOs or vice presidents of the companies, notices or circulars from HR department, targets for the sales or production by the managers. Informal channels are created for personal or social communication. For example, chit-chat of friends in a WhatsApp group. Even formal organizations use informal channels for communication. For example, it is used to assist in change management by understanding what employees think about a new change that has been introduced, and this is called grapevine. While the message is being transferred from sender to receiver via a medium, there are certain barriers that create hindrances in the communication. Let's discuss some of the main barriers to communication. These include noise. These could be interruptions or the physical distractions. It could be physical, like geographical considerations, time and space. Even mental attitude, like perceptions, stereotyping, prejudice, personal beliefs, status, relationship between communicators, culture, emotionality act as barrier to effective communication. Even poor feedback leads to poor communication. Poor listening skills. The selection of inappropriate medium or language used leads to ineffective communication. And finally, body language, the non-verbal communication acts as barrier to effective communication. Let us discuss the barriers to effective communication in details. Noise. It could be sound interference or visual distractions between the sender and the receiver. For example, people talking in the background, or traffic noise, or pictures in the room, or objects in the room, electronic disturbances in the telephone line or internet network while talking over phone or using internet. In written communications, too much of unwanted information also acts as a noise. Physical. The elements of physical environment where the communication is taking place may act as barrier to communication. For example, uncomfortable room temperature, uncomfortable seating arrangement, improper lighting. Also, the physical distance between the sender and the receiver, too close or too far, act as barrier. In communication across the globe, even the time difference may create hindrances and create barriers to effective communication. Mental attitude. Personality factors or characteristics of sender or receiver may act as an obstacle in the communication process. For example, personal bias, strong connect with particular subject, ethics, cultural or religious factors, empathy quotient, etc. In addition to that, the nature of personal relationship between the sender and the receiver also impacts the communication. Poor feedback. For communication to be effective, giving and taking feedback is an important task. If the receiver does not give or fails in giving correct feedback, it leads to failure in the communication process. On the other hand, it is equally crucial that the sender takes and understands the feedback. Poor listening skills. The major component of communication skills is listening. If the receiver is inattentive or the sender is not paying attention in case of feedback, the message will lose its significance. Selection of inappropriate medium or language. Depending on the situation, the channel for communication must be selected. For example, an audio message is effective as compared to text message in case the receiver is illiterate. Simple messages can be communicated verbally and more detailed ones in writing. Also making sure that both sender and receiver understand the same language makes communication effective. Avoid using slangs or abbreviations while communication as it may confuse the receiver. Body language. In addition to verbal communication, our facial expressions, tone and pitch of voice, clothes style, body posture, hand gestures, gaze of eyes, and personal space also communicates. Right body language enhances the impression of the verbal messages. So, to conclude, the transmission of the message from sender to recipient can be affected by a huge range of things. These include our emotions, the cultural situation, the medium used to communicate, and even our location. In face to face communication, the roles of the sender and recipient are not distinct. The two roles will pass back and forwards between two people talking. Both parties communicate with each other, even if in very subtle ways, such as through eye contact or lack of it, and general body language. In written communication, however, the sender and recipient are more distinct. What happens when there are more than one recipient? In case of more than one recipient, the complexity of communication means that each of the recipient may receive a slightly different message. Two people may read very different things into the choice of words or body language. It is also possible that neither of them will have quite the same understanding as the sender. Good communication skills are considered so desirable by employers around the world. Good communication has to be accurate, effective, and unambiguous. And good communication is actually extremely hard. But the good news is that it is a skill and that can be developed. The reasons are quite obvious now that communication is the skill which require that the both sender and receiver are aware of the potential hindrances in the communication process. This helps in achieving the purpose for which the communication is being made.